Hi you guys, welcome back to our channel. On today's video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about frequently asked questions for microblading. If you're here, it's because you at least have some kind of interest in microblading, learning about it, maybe learning how to do it, or maybe you're getting ready to have an appointment, or even worse, maybe you already had your appointment and you have a lot of questions and you don't know where to turn. So I am here to help. A little background about me, I have been doing microblading and permanent makeup for about 2 years. I'm sitting here in our Cincinnati location where we offer a variety of services, but everything started here with microblading. And we now have 2 locations. Our second location is now in Columbus, Ohio, and we're looking to keep growing. My passion now is really educating the public about microblading and permanent makeup in general, because I think it's life-changing and a really positive thing. There is a lot of bad press, sometimes there can be, and people have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are offering the service who aren't as experienced as we are here at Brow & B. So I'm here to help, and I'm going to go through some of the frequently asked questions that we hear a lot from our customers, and feel free to comment below with any questions that you have, or reach out to us via email. We'd be happy to help. The first question, maybe not as frequently asked as I would like, but I think is really important, is are you licensed, are you certified and licensed to operate? That's critical, and unfortunately not a lot of people realize that permanent makeup studios, whether they're in a salon or not, they are required to have separate licensing from a salon or any other kind of business. So in most states, and I do say most because every state is different, in most states you do have to have a tattoo license of some kind, and the requirements to get that will vary by state. However, having one is critical in Ohio. So that's the jurisdiction that we work in. You typically need to get that from the health department. That's a really crucial step, and one of the first questions you should be asking your artist. And the reason is the health department is there to ensure public health. That's their whole job. So their job is to make sure that the artist that you're seeing in the facility that they work in is clean and safe, and that they're following all the rules to prevent you from getting a disease or worse. What goes into getting a tattoo license? Again, it varies by state. I can speak from our experience, and it requires, they required that we have training, so we did have to prove that we were trained. They required that we had a bloodborne pathogens training, so a training course where we learned all about how to prevent the spread of disease. A lot of things can be spread via blood, and we are tattooing. So as much as this is a fun beauty service, it truly is a tattoo, and there are health risks for you and also for your artist. So you want to make sure you choose someone who is licensed. Another frequently asked question that we get is if you need to remove your hair, or if we are going to remove all of your hair before we do your microblading. And the answer is absolutely not. We are in the business of giving people eyebrows back, not getting rid of them. So we do not remove any of your hair before your appointment, whether that's shaving or waxing, with one exception. If you have a lot of hair, maybe you have a really big brow and you're just looking to get them refined, or maybe you have hair that grows in places that you don't want it. We will assist you with removing that after you agree on the shape and design. That is done by shaving it or tweezing it. So again, we would never remove the body of your eyebrow. We're trying to give you an eyebrow, not get rid of it. However, if you have hair in this midsection, also known as a unibrow, or kind of down in your eyelid that you would obviously never use in your eyebrow, we will go ahead and remove that at your appointment. It is also perfectly okay to get threaded or waxed or to tweeze your own eyebrows before your appointment if you have a lot of hair and you know that we're not going to be using it anyway. A common question we get is if microblading hurts. Rather, if any permanent makeup treatment hurts. So since today's video focuses on microblading, I'll stick to that. Does microblading hurt? It varies by person, so I'm very careful about how I answer this question. We get dozens and dozens of inquiries a day, and this is one of the most commonly asked questions. And the way I answer it is pain is subjective. So I certainly have people who would say that it hurts, but only a small amount. I kind of put this into a range. So I have a whole group of people who would say it's a mild discomfort, kind of puts you in the mind of getting a Brazilian wax or getting your legs waxed, or maybe like a minor beauty treatment like Botox, where there's some mild discomfort, but it's very manageable, and we're happy to do it, and we come back and we do it again and again and again. That's the majority of people. I do have a small group of people where we observe that they feel that it doesn't hurt at all. We've had people fall asleep in our chair, that they're so comfortable. And we certainly have a small group of people who are kind of uncomfortable, and they would describe it more as a pain as opposed to just discomfort, and they would describe it as like a 2 or 3 out of a 10. And again, we do numb. So for the most part, you're gonna be very comfortable. Microblading, when done by a well-trained artist, like here at Brow Envy, doesn't take very long. So you're looking at about a half an hour. And again, we're only working on one eyebrow at a time, very different than a traditional tattoo. And we do numb, and our numbing's pretty darn good. So while you will feel something, you will be comfortable, you will come back for your touch-up, you won't cry, and you won't need a break or anything like that. So you can rest assured that that's nothing that you should be worried about. We're often asked, how long will my appointment take? So your appointment will take as long as it needs to at Brow Envy. Sometimes that can go over what we normally anticipate. Other times it's a little bit faster, but on average, you can expect 2 hours with your artist for your first appointment and about an hour to an hour and a half the second time. Don't be alarmed if it takes longer or if it goes a little faster. That usually just reflects about how long the design process takes. Microblading in general for every artist at Brow Envy is going to take around a half an hour, and the numbing takes about 15 minutes. However, the design process is really where you spend the most of your time. That's intentional for us. We could have you come in and lay down and just draw some eyebrows on you and get started. And some places do that, but we don't. So we book you about 2 hours so that we can spend about 45 minutes to an hour on average, if needed, on choosing the right color and the right shape and showing you all of that, making sure that we talk to you and that we understand exactly what you want or what you don't want. Probably one of the #1 questions we're asked is, how long does it last? So that can vary by person. I'm going to give you some general averages, and just know that your exact experience could be different. The average person, microblading will last them about 18 months. So that doesn't mean that they go a whole 18 months where they look exactly the same and then the next day they wake up and they're totally gone. They gradually fade from the time you have your appointment until the time they're all the way gone. So on average, we traditionally will see people come back at 18 months or longer with little to nothing left. And the little that they do typically have left around the 18-month mark is usually what we call ghost strokes, where you can kind of see little lines if you get really close under our super bright lights. But generally speaking, maybe there's just like a light shadow there, and that guest is back to putting makeup on. That's not to say it can't last longer or that it wouldn't fade faster. We do sometimes see people come back with microblading that has lasted them or appears that it's going to last them more like a couple years. So that's entirely possible. If anyone ever tells you that microblading will 100% be completely gone from your skin at a year and a half, that is absolutely impossible to say, because there are certainly people who last longer. Those people tend to be older than 45, 50. So in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, more than likely your skin's a little more dry and your brows are probably gonna stay a little bit longer. People who have really oily skin or people who are really young, like maybe 19, 20, or really oily, are most likely gonna see their microblading fade faster. We do offer other techniques beyond microblading that will help you. So if you come to your free touch-up or you come back and see us months or a year later and you didn't have your brows last as long as possible, we will then move on and talk to you about shading your brows in some or offering you a machine technique to give you a little more coverage, and that will do the trick for most people. Should I wear makeup to my appointment? That's a common question. It is totally up to you. We do not need you to show us how you normally do your makeup. However, if you are really good at doing your makeup and you really, really like how you do your eyebrows, or you're really nervous about the outcome and you really just want to show us what you're used to, it is super helpful to come in with some makeup on, and we can go ahead and use that as a guide, at least to know what you're comfortable with. Or if you're asking us, hey Amber, what is it going to look like when I'm done? Is it going to be like what I'm used to? We'll at least be able to give you some feedback on that. Even better, you can just bring a photo of what you typically look like, and then you don't have to be bothered doing your eyebrows the day of your appointment, and that will be sufficient as well. Many customers want to know if their microblading will look natural. I say that's a very common question, and it's very interesting. We get a lot of guests who have no tattoos. They have never contemplated permanent makeup or any kind of tattooing in their life. However, they have struggled with their eyebrows and they are finally ready to make this move, but they're very nervous about it. I get a lot of comments about people being afraid of looking like Groucho Marx. So I don't know how old you are watching this video. I'm 32 years old. I did not know who Groucho Marx was until I Googled it. So if I'm feeling fancy, I'll throw in a picture of Groucho Marx in this video. We will not make you look like that. If you ask us to, we'll talk you out of it. Microblading is very natural. In fact, it's super difficult to make someone look really big and bold and dark with microblading, if not impossible. So it's very unlikely that you're gonna find your results to be very unnatural. In fact, again, people come back and they wanna add, and they want them bigger and they want them darker because they've gotten used to them. So just if you're nervous about that, be very clear with your artist when you come in. Talk, bring photos, ask for photos. We'd be happy to help to make sure that you get the result that you want. One question that I think is important to answer, but is not necessarily asked a lot, is if there are potentially clients who simply cannot retain the pigment. And the answer to that question is absolutely, it could happen. There are some people who just cannot hold on to the ink. I have encountered a couple guests over the course of a couple years who really almost immediately push all of the pigment out. From a percentage standpoint, I'll just throw out that we've done about 3,000 different sessions, and that's probably happened 2 times. And in those cases, all we did was recommend another option. Being experienced and having a diverse set of skills, we are able to offer people other solutions, even in the rare instance that microblading doesn't work for them. So I think one of the most important things to know about your microblading appointment and the entire process is what's gonna happen after you leave. Just like any major procedure, like a medical issue or surgery, aftercare is almost, if not more important than what happens in the actual procedure or your session. What am I gonna have to do to my brows when I leave? Am I gonna be able to go to work? What are my friends gonna say? Can my husband tell? I don't want him to know. So I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about that. So typically what happens when most people leave their appointment, they're either head over heels in love with their new eyebrows, or they're a little nervous because they're brand new, but generally speaking, everyone's really happy and loving what they have. The next thing that happens is typically the next day you wake up, if not the next day, the day after, with these kind of bold eyebrows. So they're the same beautiful shape. They're generally speaking still even, although sometimes when you're healing on days 2, 3, or 4, one's a little more swollen or one's a little more dry than the other one, and there could be slight variances in your 2 eyebrows. Don't panic, that's totally fine, you're just healing. But what normally happens around day 3 is people feel like, wow, these are really dark, or these are really big. What happened? I liked them on day 1. Well, sometimes you can't see all the little lines anymore, and they look a little more like you filled them in with makeup. That can be tough for some people, especially if you're not used to wearing makeup. So what we always tell people is just be patient. One tip, go ahead and put a little makeup on for those couple days so that you feel a little more put together and like you didn't just do a great job on your eyebrows and nothing else. So a little mascara goes a long way, a little lip gloss, put on a little blush, and you'll be fine. You'll make it through those days just fine. So remember, it's temporary, so it is not gonna stay like that. It's also necessary. So you really wanted these great eyebrows that were gonna last you for a year and a half, and part of that process is having a couple awkward days. So when you're really struggling with it, just remind yourself this is totally normal, totally necessary to get the result that I want, and extremely temporary. After those first few days, you have now gotten used to your brand new big bold eyebrows, and all of a sudden the flaking starts happening and they look kind of dry. It's very important to not pick at your eyebrows and to let them stay and let your body do what it needs to do and be patient. After the flaking comes off, the next time people freak out is, oh my God, they look so light. We commonly hear, oh my God, they disappeared. They did not disappear. They just look significantly lighter than the big, bold, kind of dry, scabby eyebrows that you've had for a couple days. So try not to worry about this. Basically what's happening is you just got this brand new layer of ink in one layer of skin. Another layer of skin, the fresh one, has covered it. That's part of the healing process. And now things look kind of muted, almost kind of milky, or just not clear. Everything's kind of murky. That is so normal, and that's just how your skin heals. While on the outside, your skin is normal to the touch and healed, on the inside, your skin is not healed. If that happens to you, guess what? The color is going to come back, believe it or not. You're gonna see them darken. Typically around days 10 through 14, although the day can vary, you'll see some color come back. It usually happens like you wake up one morning and you're like, oh, look at that, like my eyebrows are back. It's totally okay. They will still be significantly lighter than your first appointment, and that's normal. We want them to be that way. Typically we want them to look natural, but also you're gonna come back for a touch-up. So try not to worry if they're a little bit light. When you come back in, you're gonna tell your artist and you guys will make adjustments. The other thing you should know about the healing process, after they're healed and before you come back for your touch-up, there is a window where you're done with the aftercare. You can go back to living your life for the most part, but they don't look finished. They kind of look a little patchy. You might have a stroke here or there that didn't stay, or they may look a little light. That is totally okay. So try not to worry. As long as you follow the aftercare, everything is fine. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to drop them below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And feel free to reach out to us and check out our website at www.browenvyohio.com. Thanks guys, see you next time.